Hello, my name is Markku Alikoski and I'm presenting to you Introduction to Program Canvas. And Antti, help me. Okay. And I have a PowerPoint presentation here, but I'm mostly going to show you hands-on how to use the Program Canvas. And the agenda today is we are introductions now. We have some overview, data sources, decision steps, action steps, and then practical examples and room for questions and answers. So let's dig into the campaign canvas overview. No, program canvas, sorry. It's mainly used for automated data management processes running in the background. And it's a very robust tool, so it can process even millions of rows in relatively short time. And compared to Program Builder, it's vastly superior. So anytime you can use Program Canvas to execute data operation, please do so. And it comes in two different flavors. We have contact-based programs that have a quite wide variety of technical features, and CDO-specific programs that offer more limited but quite handy feature set. And when you go to programs, this is what you see. Create contact program, create custom object program. And when you select a custom object program, you have to first pick a custom object that this program manipulates. And programs differ quite a bit from campaigns. They cannot send emails, but they have additional listener data source. And campaigns can be evaluated hourly, so each hour new contacts could be added from a segment to a campaign, but programs can be evaluated only once per day. And some handy flexibility feature is that contacts or rows of data can exist on multiple steps in the program. So I could be in the terminal steps of the program and then enter the program without that impacting my status. And the programs, the CDO-based programs, they is the main tool to provide precise management of CDO data. We can insert, copy, modify, delete data. And I think popular use cases of programs are, let's say, we want to migrate some data from one CDO to another CDO, or we want to normalize the data or enrich data with external data sources. And CDO programs are the only way to programmatically delete CDO rows. Okay, let's look at the data sources. Data sources are entry points to a program. We have listeners that can be triggered when, let's say, a contact is created. There's a listener for that. Or we could use CDO record services, so that are running in your CDOs. Let's go there now and look look at the listeners. Let's say I have a listener here, and in my program that is linked to this custom data object. Then if I go to that custom data object, I here have custom object record services. On new data, you have those, it's creating a contact, adding a contact level security program, and doing CDO mapping. So here we could add processing steps that send data to our programs. And it's quite flexible because it lets us, for example, to define a condition. So if a certain field value is, let's say, customer, only then this would be running. But I'm not going to do that now. And these services are run in every 15 minutes interval. So when there's new data or there's modified data. And this then is connected to the listener step of our program. Obviously, we could use a form processing step too to add. Anybody who fills the form into the program. And also lead score chains could trigger a listener step and enter contacts into contact-based programs. And additionally, we can have other programs and campaigns feed data into our programs. So we could build a modular design so that one program handles some particular task, and when it's done, it calls another program. So it's like in computer programming, you have sub-programs and things. And contact-based programs can also have segments that feed data into them. And this will be evaluated daily, weekly, or monthly. And contact programs also have all kinds of app-based entry points, like somebody registered for a webinar in GoToWebinar. We add that into that program. Okay, so we have lots of options in data sources. Then we have decision steps that come in multiple flavors. We have contact programs, we have quite a handful. And in custom data object, yet we have a good selection of choices. We could compare contact or CDO fields. This is a simple comparison. So I could check that, for instance, this customer exactly is customer. And then there's an evaluation period. And that is actually boiling down to how long to wait if the answer is no. And if I set the value here to 7 days, so when a CDO row is entered into this program, let's say by a record service in the CDO, data changed, so we have to run this program. And then I'm testing if this row indicates that there's an existing customership. Then, if that's the case, it passes through immediately when this row entered this program. But if the is customer is false, then we are waiting for 7 days, testing again, and then if still no, we proceed here. We can test for shared list membership, handy. Filter member, even better, because filters we can being building blocks of segments. With filter we can create quite complex and dynamic conditions. And then there's a simple date comparison tool that is actually, let's say we could be testing whether it's 2019. So if it's after this, then yes. If not, go to no. And in contact programs, we have a date decision step that is a quite sophisticated tool that enables us to investigate. Let's say we could compare contact date field. So let's say date created, if it equals date modified. Or we could perform some arithmetic, so it's date created plus 1 days equals, let's say, current date. And then in contact programs, we do have app decision steps. So, for instance, if somebody had registered to go to the webinar, etc., etc. And there's an interesting app we are currently developing. It's still under construction, but it will be available into your program canvases, both contact and CDO oriented. Because currently there is no way to compare two CDO record fields to each other. So what we are doing is that we are building an app for that. It cannot be yet configured, it's still under construction, but this will become available, I think, pretty soon. All right, this is where the real action is, action steps in programs. We can have run update rules for contacts or against CDO data. And for instance, I've created here a demo CDO leads based rule that when called in a program, it always sets the konvertera till kund field value to 1. And the limitation of this using update rules is that I can simply set a simple condition. So I could say, let's say that if it's not equal to 1, then it's changed to 1. And obviously I could update multiple fields here, let's say setting different values, etc., etc. And this is part of the old Eloqua, as you can see. So when we are using update rules, we would almost always want to set a filtering condition before that, because the logic of that update rule doesn't allow us to be very sophisticated. Okay, but they are still useful. Then in contacts, we have contact washing machine. And these are quite handy, really. Because here, not only we could, let's say, change my, say, country, and we could set multiple conditions. Let's say if a normal operation, if country equals Finland, or country equals Suomi, then we set the value to FI and store the value into the country field. And here you can see you can set 3 conditions, and then I could add multiple actions. I could, for instance, clear the field first and then set the value, or I could compose a value here using control space. So I could, let's say, set it to retrieve the value from existing fields. And then one very handy action step is form submit. And that comes now in your instance in 3 different flavors. First we have the basic Eloqua form submit. So I could send contact data to an Eloqua form. And this is a very simplistic tool, because now we can only select a form. Let's say we have created an example form. and then perform some field mapping. We cannot send empty values. We just have to select the contact field to send. But there's a lot more valuable tool here in our form submit family. Our developers have created IDBB and mapped CDO to form that allows us to send CDO data to form. Okay, let's look at that. We have this CDO based program that runs on Visma Advanced customers. And now we pick this. Let's say there's a change that calls this program from the CDO record service. And now we would like to send this customer data into a form that we have created. Let's let it run here. It goes here. I'm going to a form. I have created a form. And it can have any data structure to receive the data that the customer CDO is sending to it. But then we could say that actually the form data coming from customer CDO, it's being stored into lead CDO. For instance, if a customer, there's a new row in the customer CDO that has the status field, it identifies this as customer. Then we could send this information to the leads CDO and update the field is converted to customer from 0 to 1 using this form submit. So customer CDO to don't worry. Okay, then you have to select the form there. So this is quite handy because now we can move data from one CDO to other. And obviously when we have all our form processing steps, we could say easily when data in the CDO changes and the program is called, we could send notifications to sales that hey, or we could send the customer a friendly email message that welcoming message, or we could add them then to a nurturing campaign or any possible action. So this is a quite handy tool, and it can be used both in contact programs and especially in CDO-based programs. And it can be used by any Visma business unit. Okay, next you have installed a third-party form submission tool that works with contacts. So if you want to the specialty of this one is that not only the contact data, you could pass account or contact data or static values. So this is like a clever version of that Eloppa built-in form submit tool. But okay, it doesn't understand the CDO data relationship the way the other one previously demonstrated did. And I think one of the most important action steps has to do with program and campaign routing. Now let's say that this CDO record was created, added to the program, so we could add you to another program or move your data into other program, and then if this is a CDO based, we could add this linked contact to a program, and then we could go here and add that person into an email nurturing campaign. So making connections between CDO programs, contact programs, and campaigns brings us a valuable set of tools for doing marketing automation. Wait steps we can wait for, as in programs, for some time or wait until. And then there is the delete CDO record step, and it's always a terminal step. So whatever gets into this program, we are first sending to a form submit, maybe sending a notification that now you are going to be deleted, and then we simply delete this, anything that enters here. And this is the only programmatic way to remove CDO records in a clever manner. And then in contacts we have a multitude of, in contact programs, all kinds of action steps for apps, date calculation, WebEx, or GoToWebinar registration, etc., etc. Okay, we've also already took these are preset defined. I got these questions from Alexandra, and now, for instance, if we would like to change the value of Konvertera till kund field in the lead CDO from 0 to 1, we have now multiple options. We could, let's say, go into, let's play that the change is occurring in the customer status. So what we would like to do is we set up a custom record service for modified data or new data, and then we are setting up a condition that the status equals customer. Okay, then this custom object record service, when it triggers 15 minutes after the change has been made or a new record has been entered into the customers table, then it calls a program that is linked to customers. And now we have multiple alternatives. Obviously, if we are running changing data in the customer CDO, let's say we have an indicator field there that has been processed true or false. We could use an update rule to do that. But we could also send the data, as we stated earlier, using a form submission tool, map CDO to form. And there we could use a form processing step. Let's say we have here lead form named konverterad till kund. And we could set the default value of that field into 1. And now when this data is sent to leads CDO, the form submission sets the field value of this second CDO, lead CDO, to 1. Whenever there is a change that is being made in the customer table. Then there's another question, how to use Program Canvas to delete CDO records 12 months after the customer changed his status from customer to non-customer. And in your customer CDO, you have a value avslutad that indicates that the customership has perished. And now we could we should trigger that change using CDO-based record service. And within 15 minutes, we would send this record to a program that is then programmed to wait 12 months and then delete the record. Or we could alternatively use in contact-based programs, we could use segment. And we have a filtering condition that there is this thing happening. And then we would send this email address to another program. But I think that using these custom object record services is the most straightforward way of implementing it. And then last, actually we have done this now, presented this now in multiple times. I really, when doing something practical with the programs, I think the CDO to form app that's installed into the CDOs, it gives us most flexibility. We can move data from one CDO to other, set the values of the other CDO based on one CDO, changes in one CDO. We could send you to nurturing campaigns. We could send notifications. And actually, there's no limit what to do with this kind of CDO to form activities. So it's really a useful tool. Okay, I'm starting to near the end of my presentation. And now, if you have any questions, I'm here to. Okay, there's a question. Markku, could you give some examples of custom object record services for new and modified data? Okay, let's go into a record service and let's look at the customer CDO. What is currently run on new data is that we are sending you to contact table to make sure that there's a mapped contact against that email address. We are adding you to a shared list that is that segment in our contact level security program is listening to. And then we are sending you into program builder to do some checks, and then we do a mapping routine that actually each of your business unit have their dedicated CDO programs that try to do. They are actually performing a form submit against that row in the CDO to ensure that there must be a mapping between contact and CDO. But even without calling a program, we could do many things with this new or modified. We could send an email notification straight away, add you to contact group, remove you from contact group, subscribed on globally, or unsubscribe, or subscribe. Some business units do subscription to their dedicated non-shared email groups from here. And we could add you to program builder. That is the old program canvas. It's slower, but it's still, for instance, if we want to send data to an external CRM system, it does it very well. Or we could update. So if there's one change that occurs in the CDO, we could then do something else with the other fields of CDO. And there are sending email, send batch email, run integration rules if you have a connected CRM. Or I think this is the best and most valuable add step in program, because now here we could call programs that are dedicated to this custom object, and then perform something when some value is changed to or is set to something. Do you have any more questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to say that's all, folks. There is maybe something coming up. Yes. So it can be done because events are CDOs. You can trigger a program in one CDO, or it could be, let's say, we could use campaign or contact-based program canvases even to trigger that change, and then make an event. A row, add a new row or update an existing row in an event CDO. Anything more? All right, I'm then now closing this session. Very good.